I came here for peace, a clean start, maybe love if I was lucky. Instead, I got trapped, not by bars, not by chains, by paperwork I didn't understand, by a woman who said she'd help me, by a system that chewed me up and spit me out. I'm 68 years old. I haven't seen Texas in 2 years, and I don't know if I ever will again. The heat hit me the moment I stepped off the plane in Davao. It wasn't like Texas heat. This was thick, wet, like breathing through a warm towel. I was 62 years old, and I'd just left everything I knew behind. My house in Austin, my routine, the grave I visited every Sunday for 3 years. I told myself I was done with cold winters and empty rooms that still smelled like Janet's perfume. I needed something different, something simple. The Philippines seemed like the answer. Cheap living, warm weather, maybe even companionship if I was lucky. I wasn't looking for anything complicated, just peace. The first week was harder than I expected. Everything felt foreign. The signs, the food, the constant noise of motorcycles and street vendors. I spent most of my time in my hotel room, researching visa requirements on my laptop, trying to figure out how long I could stay. 30 days on arrival. Then what? Extensions? Which office? What documents? Every website said something different. I felt lost, overwhelmed. I started wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. Then I met her. I was sitting at a beachfront cafe near my hotel, drinking overpriced coffee and staring at my phone. At the table next to me, a young Filipina woman was helping an older British guy with some paperwork. I couldn't help but overhear. Her English was perfect, confident. She was explaining visa extensions like it was the easiest thing in the world. "You just need your passport, 2 photos, and the fee," she said. "I can take you to the immigration office tomorrow, no problem." The British guy looked relieved. He thanked her, paid for her coffee, and left. She stayed behind, finishing her drink. I don't know why I did it, but I leaned over. "Excuse me," I said. "Sorry to bother you." I couldn't help but overhear. "Are you some kind of consultant?" She looked up and smiled. God, that smile. It was warm, genuine, like she was actually happy to see me. "Sort of," she said. "I help expats with paperwork, visas, bank accounts, finding apartments. Davao can be confusing if you're new." "Tell me about it," I said. "I've been here a week and I'm already lost." She laughed. It was a nice laugh, not forced. "What's your name?" she asked. "Gareth. Gareth Mitchell." "I'm Melinda, but everyone calls me Mindy." She extended her hand. Her grip was firm, professional. "Where are you from?" "Texas, Austin." "Long way from home." "Yeah, I guess it is." She tilted her head, studying me, not in a judgmental way, more like she was curious. "What brought you here?" she asked. I hesitated. I didn't want to unload my life story on a stranger, but something about her made it easy to talk. "My wife passed away 3 years ago," I said. "I just needed a change, somewhere warm, affordable, quiet." Her expression softened. "I'm sorry. That must have been really hard." "It was, still is sometimes." She nodded. "Davao is a good place for peace. But the paperwork side, that can be a nightmare if you don't know what you're doing." "I'm realizing that." "Listen," she said, "if you need help, I'm happy to walk you through it. No charge, just friendly advice. I know how stressful it can be." I stared at her. This beautiful, confident young woman was offering to help me for free. It felt too good to be true, but I was desperate, and she seemed kind. "That would be amazing," I said. "I don't even know where to start." "Start with your visa extension," she said. "How long have you been here?" 6 days. "Okay, so you've got about 3 weeks left. We should get your extension done soon. It's easier than you think." She pulled out her phone and opened a notes app. She started listing things I'd need: passport, photos, proof of address, a form I could download. She made it sound so simple, so manageable. For the first time since I'd landed, I felt like maybe I could actually do this. We talked for another hour. She told me about Davao, where to eat, where to shop, which areas were safe, which ones to avoid. She even recommended a cheaper hotel closer to the beach. She wasn't pushy. She wasn't selling anything. She was just helpful. By the time we said goodbye, I felt lighter, like I'd finally met someone who could guide me through all this confusion. "Can I get your number?" I asked, "in case I have questions?" "Of course." She handed me her card. Melinda Santos, visa consultant and real estate agent. "Text me anytime, seriously. I know how hard it is to navigate this place alone." I thanked her and watched her leave. I sat there for a while, holding her card, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope, maybe even a little bit of excitement. Davao didn't feel so foreign anymore, and Mindy made me feel like I wasn't invisible, like I mattered. That night I slept better than I had in months. Mindy texted me the next morning. "Good morning, Gareth. Let me know when you're free this week. I'll take you to immigration for your extension." I wasn't used to people following through. Back in Texas, everyone was always too busy. But here was this young woman checking in on me like it was the most natural thing in the world. I told her I was free any time. She picked me up 2 days later in a small white sedan. She was wearing jeans and a simple blouse, professional but casual. She smiled when she saw me. "Ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." The immigration office was chaotic. Lines everywhere, people shouting, forms scattered on tables. I would have been completely lost without her, but Mindy moved through it like she owned the place. She knew which line to get in, which forms to fill out, even helped me get passport photos from a shop across the street. "How do you know all this?" I asked. "I've been doing it for years," she said. "I used to work for a travel agency. Now I freelance. It's easier, less stress." "Well, you're a lifesaver," she laughed. "It's not that complicated once you know the system. Most expats just don't know where to start." Within 2 hours, my extension was done. 30 more days in the Philippines. Legal. Official. I felt a massive weight lift off my chest. "Thank you," I said as we walked back to her car. "Seriously, I don't know what I would have done without you." "You would have figured it out," she said, "but I'm glad I could help." I offered to pay her. She refused. "It's fine, Gareth, really. Just buy me lunch." So I did. We went to a small Filipino restaurant near the bay. She ordered for both of us. Grilled fish, rice, some kind of sour soup. It was delicious. We talked for hours. She told me about her family. Her mom, Lorna, who lived just outside the city. Her younger brother, Jun, who was studying IT. She talked about growing up in Davao, about how much the city had changed. I told her about my job back in Austin, insurance claims adjuster, boring work but steady. I told her about Janet, how we met, how she got sick, how fast it all happened. "I'm sorry," Mindy said quietly. "That must have been horrible." "It was, but I'm trying to move forward. That's why I'm here." She reached across the table and touched my hand, just for a second. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. Over the next few weeks, Mindy helped me with everything. She took me to a bank and helped me open an account. She found me a condo to rent, a one-bedroom place near the beach. Nothing fancy, but clean and affordable. She even introduced me to a good barber, a local market with fresh vegetables, and the best place to get coffee. She texted me almost every day, just checking in, asking how I was doing, sending me restaurant recommendations. I started to rely on her, more than I should have probably, but it felt good to have someone who cared, someone who made me feel like I wasn't alone. I started paying her for her time. She always refused at first, but I insisted. Consultation fees, I called them. 1,000 pesos here, 2,000 there. It felt fair. She was spending hours helping me. She deserved to be compensated. One afternoon, she invited me to her mom's house for lunch. I was nervous. Meeting the family felt like a big step. but Mindy said it was no big deal. My mom just wants to meet you, she said. She's curious about the American guy I keep talking about. Lorna's house was small but tidy, concrete walls, a tin roof, a little garden out front. Lorna was in her late 50s, soft-spoken, with kind eyes. June was there too, mid-20s, skinny, with a friendly smile. They treated me like an honored guest. Lorna cooked a huge meal, pork adobo, pancit, lumpia. We sat around a small table and ate together. They asked me about Texas, about my life, about why I chose Davao. I felt welcomed, appreciated, like I was part of something. "You're always welcome here," Lorna said in careful English. "You're like family now." I didn't know what to say. It had been so long since anyone had said something like that to me. I just nodded and thanked her. After lunch, Jun showed me his motorcycle. He was proud of it. He talked about wanting to upgrade it someday. "Maybe I can help with that," I said, half joking. His eyes lit up. "Really?" I laughed. "We'll see." On the drive back to my condo, Mindy was quiet. "Thank you for coming today," she said. "It meant a lot to my mom. She doesn't meet a lot of foreigners." "She's lovely," I said. "You all are." Mindy glanced at me. "I'm glad you're here, Gareth. I really am." Something in her voice made my chest tighten. I didn't say anything. I just looked out the window and smiled. I was falling for her. I knew it, and I didn't care. For the first time in 3 years, I felt alive again. 2 months in, I made a decision. I didn't want to leave the Philippines, not after 30 days, not after 6 months. I wanted to stay, long term, maybe even permanently. I brought it up to Mindy over dinner one night. "I've been thinking," I said. "I want to apply for a retirement visa, something that'll let me stay here for years." Her face lit up. "The SRRV? Yeah, that one. Is it hard to get?" "Not if you do it right," she said, "but it requires a deposit. $20,000, I think, and a lot of paperwork." I winced. $20,000? "It's refundable if you ever leave," she said quickly, "and it's worth it. Once you have it, you're legal. No more extensions every month. You can stay as long as you want." I thought about it. 20,000 was a lot, but I had savings, my pension, Janet's life insurance. I could afford it. And if it meant I could stay here near Mindy, near this life I was building, it seemed worth it. "Can you help me with it?" I asked. She hesitated. "I know an agency. They specialize in SRRV applications. They're good, fast. But they're not cheap. They charge a service fee on top of the deposit." "How much?" "Around $8,000. But they can expedite everything. Get it done in a few months instead of a year." 8,000. I did the math in my head. It was a big chunk of money. But I trusted Mindy. She hadn't steered me wrong yet. "Okay," I said. "Let's do it." She smiled. "I'll set up a meeting with them. You'll like them. They're professional." The meeting happened the following week. Mindy drove me to a small office in downtown Davao. The place looked legitimate enough. Desks, computers, filing cabinets. A woman named Ms. Cruz greeted us. She was middle-aged, well-dressed, and spoke excellent English. She walked me through the SRRV process, the deposit, the medical exam, the background check, the timelines. "We can have everything ready in 3 months?" she said. "Maybe less." "That sounds great," I said. "We just need your deposit and the service fee up front," she said. "Then we'll start processing immediately." I glanced at Mindy. She nodded encouragingly. "Okay," I said. "How do I pay?" Ms. Cruz gave me a bank account number. Mindy helped me transfer the money that afternoon. $8,000. Gone in minutes. Ms. Cruz sent me a receipt via email. It looked official. I felt good about it. Nervous, but good. "This is exciting," Mindy said as we left. "You're really doing this." "I am," I said. "Thanks to you." She squeezed my hand. "We're in this together." But weeks passed, then a month. I asked Mindy for updates. She texted Ms. Cruz. The responses were vague. Processing takes time, Mindy said. They're waiting on government approvals. Shouldn't they give me updates? I asked. They will. Just be patient. But I wasn't patient. I was anxious. 2 months in, I asked to see the paperwork. Mindy brought me a folder. Inside were photocopies of forms. Some were filled out, some weren't. None of them had official stamps. They looked incomplete. Is this normal? I asked. I think so, Mindy said, but she didn't sound sure. Then one morning I woke up and realized something terrible. My tourist visa had expired. I checked the stamp in my passport. It had been valid for 60 days after my last extension. 60 days had come and gone. I was undocumented. I called Mindy immediately. Mindy, my visa expired. What? When? 3 days ago. There was silence on the other end. I thought you were handling that, I said, trying not to panic. I thought the agency was including it in the SRRV process, she said. Let me call them. She called. I waited. 10 minutes later, she texted back. They said you need to go to immigration yourself. It's a separate process. Can you take me? I'm working today. Can you go tomorrow? Tomorrow? Mindy, I'm illegal right now. It's fine, Gareth. Just don't leave your condo. I'll take you first thing tomorrow, I promise. But tomorrow came and went. She canceled. Work emergency. Then the next day. Family issue. Then the next. A week passed. I was too scared to leave my condo. Too scared to go to immigration alone. What if they detained me? What if they deported me? I'd spent $8,000. I couldn't leave now. I called Mindy again. Mindy, we need to fix this now. I know, I'm sorry. I'll come by tonight. She showed up late. She looked stressed, tired. We sat on my couch and she pulled out her phone. Okay, she said, here's the plan. I'll take you to immigration next week. We'll pay the penalty and extend your visa. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal? I've been illegal for over a week. Gareth, calm down. This happens all the time. It's fine. Is it? Because it doesn't feel fine. She looked at me. Her eyes were hard. I'd never seen that look before. Do you trust me or not? She asked. I didn't know how to answer, so I just nodded. Good, she said. Then trust me, we'll fix it. But deep down, I was starting to realize something. I wasn't in control anymore. She was. And I had no idea how to get it back. I couldn't sleep. I spent the next few nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling fan, my mind racing. I kept replaying the conversation with Mindy. Do you trust me or not? Of course I trusted her. But trust was starting to feel like a trap. I pulled out my laptop and started researching. SRRV applications, immigration lawyers, visa penalties. The more I read, the more confused I got. Some websites said the process took 6 months. Others said a year. None of them mentioned an $8,000 expedite fee. I tried calling the agency Ms. Cruz worked for. The number didn't connect. I searched for their business online. Nothing came up. No website, no reviews, just a vague address in downtown Davao that I couldn't verify. I decided I needed to talk to someone else, someone who'd been here longer than me, someone who knew how this place worked. I went back to the beachfront cafe where I'd first met Mindy. I ordered a coffee and sat by the window. That's when I saw him, an older guy, white hair, deep tan, sitting alone at a corner table reading a paperback. He looked like he'd been here a while. I walked over. "Excuse me," I said. "You mind if I ask you something?" He looked up. His accent was Australian. "Sure, mate, what's up? How long have you been in Davao?" 15 years. Jesus, that's a long time. He smiled. Yeah, I'm Eddie, by the way. Gareth. We shook hands. I sat down across from him. Can I ask you about visas? His expression shifted. Not suspicious, just careful. What kind of visa? SRRV. I applied a couple months ago through an agency. but I'm not getting any updates, and my tourist visa expired. I'm kind of stuck. Eddie's face darkened. He set his book down. Who's handling it? A consultant, a woman named Mindy? Mindy Santos? My stomach dropped. You know her? He nodded slowly. I know of her. She's got a reputation. What kind of reputation? Eddie leaned back in his chair. He studied me for a moment. How much did you pay her? $8,000 for the expedite fee. He exhaled through his teeth. Mate, there's no such thing as an expedite fee. Not for SRRV. That's all processed through the government. You pay the deposit, you pay the visa fee, and you wait. That's it. I felt my hands start to shake. What are you saying? I'm saying you got scammed, or you're about to be. No, that's not possible. She's been helping me for months. She introduced me to her family. Did she ask for the money up front? Yes, but did you get official receipts? A contract? Anything from the government? I thought about the folder Mindy had shown me, the incomplete forms, the lack of stamps, just some photocopies. Eddie shook his head. Gareth, listen to me. I've seen this happen to a dozen guys. They come here alone. They're lonely. They meet a woman who's helpful, charming, speaks good English. She offers to fix their visa problems. They pay her, and then they're stuck, overstaying, undocumented, can't leave, can't stay, and she's got all their money. I couldn't breathe. She wouldn't do that. She cares about me. Does she? Or does she care about your bank account? I stood up. You don't know her. You're right, I don't. But I know this place, and I know how this story ends. He pulled out a business card and handed it to me. This is a lawyer, a real one. If you're serious about fixing your situation, call him. Today. I took the card. Attorney Ramon Villanueva, Immigration Law. I shoved it in my pocket and left without saying goodbye. I walked back to my condo in a daze. Eddie was wrong. He had to be wrong. Mindy wasn't scamming me. She was helping me. She'd been nothing but kind. But the doubt was there now, crawling under my skin like an infection. That night I texted Mindy. Can we talk? I'm really worried about the visa. She replied an hour later. I know. I'm worried too. The agency is being slow. I'm so sorry. Can we meet tomorrow? I can't tomorrow. I have to take my mom to the hospital. Is she okay? She needs surgery. Her gallbladder. It's expensive. I don't know how we're going to pay for it. I stared at my phone. My hands were shaking again. I didn't respond. I just turned off the lights and lay in bed, staring into the dark. I thought about what Eddie had said. I thought about Mindy's tears, her family, her kindness. I thought about how good it had felt to be needed again, to be wanted, and I wondered if any of it had ever been real. The next morning, I transferred $2,000 into Mindy's account for her mom's surgery. She texted back immediately. Thank you so much, Gareth. I don't know what I'd do without you. I sat there holding my phone, feeling sick. I knew I'd just made a mistake, but I couldn't stop myself. Because if I stopped believing in her, I'd have to admit that I'd been a fool, and I wasn't ready to do that yet. 6 months passed. I was still undocumented, still waiting, still trapped. Mindy's visits became less frequent, once a week, then once every 2 weeks. She always had an excuse. Work was busy. Her mom was still recovering. Jun needed help with school fees. I gave her money every time, not because I believed her anymore, but because I didn't know what else to do. My savings were shrinking. I'd gone from $60,000 in the bank to less than 30. I was losing weight, not sleeping. I couldn't remember the last time I'd left my condo for more than an hour. I was afraid of immigration officers, afraid of being stopped on the street, afraid of what would happen if they found out I'd been illegal for half a year. One night, Mindy came over. She was wearing a new dress. Her nails were freshly done. She looked good, too good for someone whose family was supposedly broke. How's your mom? I asked. Better? She's recovering well. And Jun? Did he get his school fees sorted out? Yeah, thanks to you. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We sat on the couch. She scrolled through her phone while I stared at the wall. I felt like a ghost, like I wasn't even there. Then her phone buzzed. She picked it up, read something, and smiled. A real smile, the kind she used to give me. I glanced at the screen. I didn't mean to, but I saw it. A photo, Mindy at a beach resort, cocktail in hand, designer sunglasses. The caption said, "Living my best life." The photo was from 3 days ago. My chest tightened. When did you go to the beach? She looked up, startled. What? Your Facebook. You were at a resort. She locked her phone quickly. Oh? That? It was a work thing. Client event. You said you couldn't meet me last week because you were busy with family stuff. I was. The event was just one afternoon. You're wearing a dress in that photo that costs more than my monthly rent. Her face hardened. Are you checking up on me now? I'm just asking. You don't trust me anymore, do you? I wanted to lie, to smooth it over, to make her stay, but I was too tired. I don't know, I said quietly. She stood up, grabbed her purse. I've been killing myself trying to help you, Gareth, and this is what I get? Accusations? I'm not accusing you, I'm just confused. You know what? I'm done. If you don't trust me, find someone else to fix your mess. She walked to the door. I didn't follow her. I just sat there feeling my world collapse. Again. The next morning I called Eddie. He answered on the second ring. It's Gareth. We met at the cafe a few months ago. Yeah, mate, I remember. You okay? No, I need that lawyer's number. I'll text it to you. His name's Ramon. Good guy. Honest. Thanks. Gareth? Yeah? It's not your fault. Just so you know. I hung up before I started crying. I met Adi Ramon Villanueva 2 days later. His office was small, a single room above a convenience store, but he was professional. Mid-40s, glasses, tired eyes. He listened while I explained everything. The $8,000, the incomplete paperwork, the expired visa, the 6 months of being undocumented. He took notes, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. Okay, he said. First, the bad news. The agency you used isn't registered, I checked. There's no business license, no government accreditation, the bank account you sent money to. It's a personal account, not a corporate one. My stomach dropped. So the money's gone? Most likely, yes. What about my visa? Your visa situation is complicated. You've been overstaying for 6 months. That's a serious violation. If immigration catches you, you'll be detained, fined, and deported. You won't be able to come back for years. Can we fix it? He nodded slowly. We can try, but it's going to take time and money. How much? To apply for legal residency through proper channels? Maybe $5,000, plus penalties for overstaying. Another $2,000 or $3,000. And it could take a year, maybe longer. I put my head in my hands. I don't have that kind of money anymore. What about leaving the country, going back to the U.S. and starting over? I can't leave. If I go to the airport, they'll arrest me. Ramon nodded. Then you're stuck, unless we fix this the legal way. I looked up at him. Why didn't I see this coming? He smiled sadly. Because you trusted someone. That's not a crime, Mr. Mitchell. It's just a mistake. I left his office feeling hollowed out. I walked back to my condo and stood on the balcony, looking out at the ocean. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink and beautiful, and I realized I hadn't really looked at it in months. I'd been so focused on Mindy, on the visa, on trying to fix everything, that I'd forgotten why I came here in the first place. I just wanted peace. That's all. But somehow, I'd ended up in a nightmare. I sat in Ramon's office again a week later. We were going over my options. None of them were good. If we file for an alien certificate of registration, we can get you legal status. Ramon said. But it requires proof of financial stability, a clean background check, and a lot of paperwork. And we'll have to address the overstay penalties first. How long will that take? 6 months, maybe a year. And I can't leave the country during that time? Correct. You'll be stuck here until it's processed. I rubbed my face. I felt old, older than I'd ever felt before. What if I just turn myself in, go to immigration and tell them the truth? Ramon shook his head. They'll detain you. You'll sit in a cell for weeks while they process your case. Then they'll deport you and ban you from re-entry. Is that what you want? No, but I don't know how much longer I can do this. I understand, but running doesn't fix it. It just makes it worse. I nodded. He was right. I knew he was right, but knowing didn't make it easier. Did you ever get a contract from the agency? Ramon asked. Official receipts? Anything we could use to report them? I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my messages with Mindy. There were hundreds of them. Sweet good mornings, check-ins, promises. I found the receipt Ms. Cruz had emailed me and showed it to Ramon. He studied it for a moment. This isn't an official government receipt, he said. It's just a Word document with a logo. You can't use this for anything. So I can't even report them? You can file a complaint with the police, but without a registered business, without a contract, it's hard to prove fraud. It's your word against hers. I felt my throat tighten. So she gets away with it. Most of them do. I thought about Mindy, about her smile, her laugh, the way she held my hand at her mother's house, the way she looked at me like I mattered. Was any of it real? Or was I just a mark from the beginning? I didn't know anymore. And that was the worst part. Not the money, not the visa, the not knowing. I was lonely, I said quietly. My wife died 3 years ago. I was alone. I came here because I didn't want to be alone anymore. And Mindy made me feel like I wasn't. Ramon didn't say anything. He just nodded. I gave her everything, I continued, not just money. I gave her my trust, my hope. I let myself believe that someone like her could actually care about someone like me. She probably did care, Ramon said, in her own way, but that doesn't change what she did. I looked up at him. How do you mean? People are complicated, Mr. Mitchell. She might have liked you, might have even felt guilty, but she needed money more than she needed to be honest. And you were an easy target. Easy target, that's what I was. A lonely old man with money and no one to tell him he was being stupid. I haven't talked to my daughter in months, I said. She's in Austin, married, has 2 kids. I stopped calling because I was too ashamed to tell her what happened. You should call her, Ramon said. She's your family. She'll want to help. She'll think I'm an idiot. Maybe, but she's still your daughter. That night I called her. It was early morning in Texas. She answered on the 3rd ring. Dad? Hi, sweetheart. Oh my God. Are you okay? I've been trying to reach you for weeks. I know. I'm sorry. Where are you? Are you still in the Philippines? Yeah, I'm still here. Dad, what's going on? You sound awful. And then I told her everything. The visa, the money, Mindy, the whole stupid, shameful story. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. When I finished, there was a long silence. Dad, she said quietly, why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I'm embarrassed. You shouldn't be. You didn't do anything wrong. I gave a stranger $10,000 and trusted her to fix my life. You trusted someone who said they'd help you. That's not a crime. I started crying. I couldn't help it. I don't know how to fix this. We'll figure it out, she said. I'll help you. I'll send you money. We'll get you home. I can't come home, not yet. I'm stuck here until I fix my visa. Then we'll fix it. Together. We talked for another hour. She promised to wire me money for the legal fees. She made me promise to check in with her every week. She told me she loved me. By the time we hung up, I felt lighter, not fixed, but less alone. I lay in bed that night thinking about everything I'd lost, my savings, my dignity, my belief that people were basically good, but I still had my daughter, I still had Ramon, I still had a chance to fix this, and that had to be enough. I didn't plan to see Mindy again. I thought I was done. But 3 weeks later, she texted me, "Can we talk? I miss you." I stared at the message for a long time. I knew I should ignore it, block her number, move on. But part of me needed closure. I needed to hear her say it, to admit what she'd done. So I agreed to meet her. Same cafe where we first met, same table by the window. She arrived 15 minutes late. She looked different, tired. Her hair wasn't done, no makeup. She sat down across from me and tried to smile. "Hi," she said. "Hi. I've been thinking about you." "Have you?" She nodded. "I know you're upset with me, and I understand, but I want you to know I never meant to hurt you." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "The agency screwed us both over," she continued. "I trusted them. I thought they were legitimate. I'm just as upset as you are." "Are you?" "Yes, of course I am." "Then where's my money, Mindy?" Her face tightened. "I don't have it. I gave it to the agency." "The agency that doesn't exist." She looked away. "I didn't know that at the time." "Didn't you?" "What are you saying?" I leaned forward. "I'm saying I talked to a lawyer. I'm saying the bank account you had me transfer money to was a personal account, not a business account. I'm saying you lied to me." "I didn't lie. Did you ever file my visa application?" She hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. "I thought so," I said. "Gareth, it's not that simple." "Yes or no, did you file it?" She looked at me. Her eyes were hard now. No more tears, no more sweetness, just cold calculation. "No," she said, "I didn't." I felt something break inside me, not my heart. That was already broken. Something deeper. My ability to believe in people. "Why?" I asked. "Because you were easy," she said. "You were lonely. You had money. You wanted someone to save you. So I did. For a while. And then? And then you started asking too many questions. You got paranoid. You stopped trusting me. You gave me plenty of reasons not to trust you." She shrugged. "Maybe. But you still gave me the money. You still believed me, even when you knew something was wrong." "Because I loved you." She laughed. Not cruelly. Just sad. "No, you didn't, Gareth. You loved the idea of me. You loved not being alone, but you didn't love me. You didn't even know me." "I wanted to." "I know. And I'm sorry. But that's not my problem." She stood up, grabbed her purse. I stayed sitting. "Did you ever care about me?" I asked. "Even a little?" She looked at me for a long moment. "I cared about what you could give me. That's all I could afford to care about." And then she walked away. No apology, no explanation, just gone. I sat there for another hour, staring at the ocean. The sun was setting again. The sky was orange and pink and beautiful. And I realized something. She was right. I didn't love her. I loved the feeling of being needed, of mattering to someone. I was so desperate not to be invisible that I let myself be used. And that was on me, not her, me. I paid for my coffee and left. I didn't look back. It's been 2 years since I arrived in Davao. 2 years since I thought I could start over. 2 years since I met Mindy and believed she'd save me. I'm still here, still stuck. But things are different now. Slowly, painfully, Ramon and I have been rebuilding my legal status. I applied for an alien certificate of registration, paid the fines, submitted the paperwork. It's taken months, cost thousands. My daughter sent me money. I sold my house in Austin to cover the legal fees. Everything I owned, gone, but I'm legal now, documented, I can stay, and more importantly, I can leave. In 6 months, maybe a year, I'll be able to go home if I want to. I'm not sure I do. I meet Eddie for coffee once a week. We don't talk about Mindy anymore. We talk about books, movies, the weather, normal things. He's become a friend, a real one, not someone who wants something from me, just someone who's there. Ramon checks in on me too. He's still working on my case, still fighting for me. I trust him, not because I'm naive, but because he's earned it. I haven't heard from Mindy. I blocked her number months ago. Sometimes I wonder what she's doing. If she ever thinks about me, if she feels guilty, I doubt it. She probably has another lonely expat by now, another guy who just wants to believe someone cares. I hope he's smarter than I was, but I doubt that too. I stand on my balcony most evenings and watch the sunset. The sky's still orange and pink and beautiful. I think about Janet, about the life we had, about how much I wanted to escape from it. I realize now I wasn't running from grief. I was running from myself, from the fear of being alone, from the fear that without her, I was nothing. And that fear made me desperate, and desperation made me stupid. I'm not the man who arrived here 2 years ago. That man was hopeful, naive, still believed the world was fair. I'm not him anymore. I'm harder, older, more careful, but I'm still here. I survived, and that has to count for something. My daughter wants me to come home. She's found me a place near her in Austin, a small apartment. She says her kids miss their grandpa. I told her I'd think about it. Part of me wants to go back, to hug my grandkids, to sleep in a bed that doesn't smell like mildew, to walk into a store where everyone speaks English. But part of me wants to stay, not because I love it here, but because leaving feels like admitting defeat, like Mindy won. Eddie tells me that's stupid. She already won, mate. She got your money. Don't give her your piece too. He's probably right, but it's hard to let go. Hard to admit that I came here looking for something and ended up with nothing, except maybe the truth about myself, about what happens when you trust too easily, when you want to believe so badly that you ignore every warning sign. I don't regret coming here, not really. I regret how it happened, who I trusted, how much I lost. But I don't regret trying to live, trying to love, trying to be something other than a man sitting alone in an empty house waiting to die. I failed, spectacularly, but at least I tried. I watched the sun disappear into the ocean. Another day gone, another day closer to whatever comes next. I don't know if I'll stay or go, if I'll ever trust anyone again, if I'll ever stop feeling like a fool. But I know this. I'm not trapped anymore. Not by paperwork, not by Mindy, not by my own desperation. I'm free. And that's something I didn't expect to feel again. Tomorrow I'll have coffee with Eddie. Next week I'll check in with Ramon. Next month maybe I'll decide about Austin. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just stay here. Watch more sunsets. Learn to live with the shame and the regret and the quiet understanding that I'm not the man I thought I was. But I'm still here, still breathing, still trying to figure out what peace actually looks like. And for now, that has to be enough.